Welcome back to the Ed Show. I'm Cenk Uygur in for Ed Schultz. Now for the battleground story tonight. The establishment media is in a frenzy because many activists and bloggers do their jobs better than they do. And they're in danger of losing their prized position as the fourth estate in this country. Maureen Dowd, a marquee columnist for the country's most established newspaper, is the latest to do a hit job on the so-called professional left. In her latest op-ed, Dowd echoes Press Secretary Robert Gibbs, deriding progressives as, quote, radical and extreme. Also saying, quote, on the Republican side, the crazies often end up helping the Republican leadership. On the Democratic side, the radicals are constantly sniping at Obama, expressing their feelings of betrayal. Fox built up a Republican president. MSNBC is trying to make its reputation by tearing down a Democratic one. No, the difference between MSNBC and Fox News is that we actually use our minds. We don't follow the president like robots. We are not authoritarian by nature. And apparently, unlike Maureen Dowd, we're capable of using independent judgment. The establishment press loves to protect the government. They've forgotten entirely that they're supposed to do the opposite, challenge the government. Just because I think the right-wing movement in this country has lost its mind doesn't mean I should lend mine out to President Obama. Here's what the millionaire mainstream press doesn't get. We, unlike you, actually understand policy. And yes, guilty as charged, we care about it. I can give you a million examples, but I'll just give you one for tonight. President Bush made a deal with the drug industry so that the government could not negotiate drug prices. He also blocked the importation of drugs. That effectively set up an unnatural monopoly for drug companies to charge us whatever they want. You know what President Obama did? The same exact thing. He also made a deal with the drug industry, allowing drug companies to keep their patents for 12 years, so their monopoly lasts even longer. So if I hated it under Bush, why should I love it under Obama? What's so radical or extreme or deranged about sticking with the same position you had before? That used to be called unbiased. If anyone in the establishment media says they don't understand that, then I'm not sure I could help them. If you'd like, I could talk slower. Maybe you'll understand it then. This isn't about taking down a Democratic president. It's about holding him accountable. That's what I thought the press was supposed to do. Joining me now is Mark Halpern, editor-at-large of Time Magazine and a senior political analyst for MSNBC. Mark, what do I have wrong? What am I missing here? How am I deranged?
Could you redo the lead-in but talk slower? Because you said you would.
Okay.
No, look,
I can do that.
The example you chose and your overall perspective, I think, is fantastic for democracy. Holding the government accountable, holding all powerful interests accountable, is the highest responsibility of old and new media. I think what Maureen Dowd and Robert Gibbs were talking about was a different set of issues on which, in the view of Robert Gibbs and I think some other people in the White House, the left, blogosphere, and other voices are unrealistic in their expectations about the difference between what's possible and what's not possible.
Mark,
but the example you gave, and countless others, I think you're right on.
Mark, when you go to actual examples, though, I don't see any of their points. Because, look, what did he have to do? Robert Gibbs made up one. He said, oh, all these liberals who want to get rid of the Pentagon. Really? Name one. You couldn't name one in the country. So where is the left being deranged? Just give me one example.
Well, deranged is not a word I would use. I think what frustrates Robert Gibbs and other people in the White House is, say, take, for example, health care. There's an issue where the president and a lot of Democrats had great political expense, which they knew going in. They knew that if they passed health care the way it came out, that they would, in a pretty good chance, they'd suffer political costs. They passed what they felt, and I think they were right, was, given the way they went with Democrat-only votes, the best bill they could. There are a lot of Democrats who complain that it's not single-payer, there's no public option, and there's more focus and energy on complaining about the way the bill came out, including, as you pointed out, making a deal with the pharmaceutical companies. Their legislative strategy required making that deal from their point of view. They'd like to see more appreciation and energy for the midterms on the overall passage of a historic act on health care, rather than complaining that the bill's not perfect from the point of view of some on the left.
Let's take that, because that's really important. And by the way, Ruth Marcus of the Washington Post said that it's the deranged left that wants things like the public option. Now, look, you're
talking fast again. You're talking fast. Slow down.
All right. So now let me explain it really clearly. What we had was originally President Obama saying he was for single payer. And then after he won the election, Single payer, I got no interest in that, right? Not even close. Then all we wanted was a tiny thing, a public option just to introduce competition in any way. Instead, what President Obama did is he left the system exactly as it is. We have to go to private insurance. We don't have a choice. Is that clear? Why is that crazy or radical to worry about that?
You know why? You know why he did that? He did that because they could count the votes. They engaged in what I consider to be one of the shrewdest legislative.
No, that's an
they
easy.
Tried with all their might.
No, every single report coming out of the White House.
They tried with all their might.
They didn't. That is not true. Every report out of the White House said that they did not try for the public option. They never wanted the public option. The easy answer is, oh, I don't have the votes. What can I do? How about you try?
Let me say this slowly.
Mark, let me ask you one last question.
They didn't have the votes. They tried and they wanted.
One last question.
Slowly.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Did Bush or Cheney ever whine about not having the votes, or did they just get whatever they wanted, whether it's the Iraq War or the largest tax cuts in history, with a much narrower majority, if any majority at all, in the Senate?
Well, they didn't have the problem that this president has had with Ben Nelson or Evan Bayh or Joe Lieberman getting bills through the Senate. They found a way around to do that. That doesn't mean this White House isn't trying as hard. It just means the makeup of the body and the discipline was a little different on the Republican side. In part, I think Robert Gibbs would tell you, was because the institutional right was more supportive of reinforcing the mission of the Bush White House than the institutional left is, professional left is, of supporting this president's agenda.
As they do the same drug deals as Bush does, we're supposed to support them. Why? Bow our head. Why? No, I didn't like that deal under Bush. I don't like it under Obama. But Mark, it's been a good conversation.
And I think it's fantastic. I think it's fantastic that you have that point of view on issues like that, and I bet Robert Gibbs does too.
All right. Well, I'm not so sure about that, but thank you, Mark.